My name is Sharon. I'm 27 years old, and for a long time I thought my relationship was solid in that quiet, unremarkable way that feels safe. Not dramatic, not explosive, just steady. Or at least that's what I told myself. I'd been dating my boyfriend for about a year and a half, long enough to believe we knew each other's patterns, long enough to think we had the important conversations out of the way. Early on, we talked about boundaries. Real ones, not vague promises. One of those conversations was about exes. We both agreed that staying friendly with former partners was fine as long as there was honesty and respect. No secrecy, no games, no trying to provoke reactions. It sounded mature, balanced, reasonable. Last Tuesday, my ex-boyfriend texted me. We had dated for about 6 months, 2 years earlier. It ended mutually. No bitterness, no unresolved drama. We'd stayed cordial. He asked if I wanted to grab coffee and catch up. He had recently gotten engaged and wanted to share the news in person. Before agreeing, I mentioned it to my boyfriend that night. Casually, the way you do when there's nothing to hide. My ex wants to meet for coffee, I said. Totally fine if you're not comfortable with that. He barely looked up from his phone. I'm not insecure like that. Do whatever. I paused, making sure. You're sure? Yeah, he said. It's fine. I trust you. So Thursday afternoon, I met my ex at a coffee shop downtown. We talked for maybe an hour. He showed me ring photos, talked about his fiancée, joked about how nervous he'd been proposing. It was uneventful, platonic, almost boring. I got home around 5. My boyfriend seemed normal. We ordered takeout, watched a show, went to bed. Nothing felt off. Friday morning at work, my phone started blowing up. Messages from friends, screenshots, question marks, laughing emojis that didn't feel playful. When I opened Instagram, I saw why. My boyfriend had posted 3 stories, all of him hanging out with his ex-girlfriend, coffee, lunch, laughing together. The last story had a caption that made my stomach drop. If this bothers you, that's a you problem. I stared at my phone longer than I want to admit. He had gone out with his ex, the one he'd dated for 2 years, the one with real history, the same day I met mine. And instead of just living his life quietly, he made it public. That caption wasn't accidental. It was aimed, directed, a statement disguised as indifference. When I got home that evening, he was on the couch like nothing had happened, smiling, relaxed. Hey babe, he said, how was work? Interesting, I replied. I saw your stories. Oh yeah, he said easily, just catching up with an old friend. You went out with your ex the same day I met mine. He shrugged. You said it yourself. We agreed exes are fine. And the caption? He smiled again, smaller this time. Just a general statement. If people get insecure about their partners having coffee with friends, that's their problem to work on. The way he said it was smooth, calm, almost rehearsed, like he was positioning himself as the evolved one and daring me to argue without sounding insecure. I realized then that this wasn't about coffee. It was about control, about testing whether I'd swallow something that felt off, just to keep the peace. So you're totally cool with me hanging out with my ex? I asked. I literally said I was, he replied. Did you not hear me? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. We are, he said. I'm secure in our relationship. I don't need to control who you talk to. That sentence stuck with me, not because it reassured me, but because it felt like a challenge. A standard he assumed, only applied in one direction. I didn't argue that night. I didn't raise my voice or accuse him of anything. I nodded, went quiet, and paid attention, because something in me had shifted. I could feel it settling into place like a puzzle piece clicking where it belonged. Later that evening, I texted his best friend. We'd always been friendly, hung out in group settings. He was easy to talk to, funny in a dry way, worked in graphic design, and had never crossed a line with me. It was innocent, which mattered. Hey, I texted. Random question, but want to grab dinner sometime this week? Been meaning to catch up outside group hangouts. He replied quickly. Yeah, sure, I'm free tomorrow if you want. We picked an Italian place. 7 o'clock. Simple. As I set my phone down, I felt strangely calm. Not excited, not nervous, just clear. If these were the rules, I wasn't breaking them. I was following them exactly. And somehow, I already knew that would be the problem. Saturday evening came faster than I expected. I got ready without overthinking it, which in hindsight should have been my first clue that something fundamental had shifted. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I wasn't trying to provoke a reaction. I just put on a nice top, jeans and shoes that said I made an effort but wasn't performing. The kind of outfit you wear when you're comfortable with your own intentions. My boyfriend was at his sister's place for the day. We didn't live together, and in that moment, I was deeply grateful for it. There was space between us, literal and emotional, and I needed both. Dinner was easy. His best friend and I talked about work, mutual friends, the weird quirks of people we both knew. We laughed about old group trips and complained about the same annoying acquaintances. There was nothing secretive, nothing flirtatious, nothing that crossed a line. It felt normal, which somehow made everything else feel more surreal. I posted one photo, just the two of us at the table, wine glasses visible, smiling. Nothing intimate, no suggestive caption, just good food, good company. I tagged him, put my phone on silent, and finished dinner. When I checked my phone around 9, sitting in my car, there were 32 notifications, almost all from my boyfriend. The first message was aggressive. What the hell is this? Then disbelief. Are you seriously out with my best friend? Then accusation. This is so disrespectful. Then control. You need to come home right now. Then panic. Delete that photo immediately. Then escalation. Answer your phone. I took screenshots of every message, not out of spite, but instinct. Somewhere deep down, I knew this wasn't going to stay private. I replied with one sentence. Having dinner with a friend. If this bothers you, that's a you problem. I turned my phone off and drove home with a strange calm settling in my chest. Not relief, not triumph, just certainty. When I got back to my apartment, he was already there, standing outside my door like he'd been rehearsing the confrontation. His face was red, his eyes glossy, mascara smudged, as if he'd been crying hard enough to make it theatrical. We need to talk, he said. Okay, I replied, unlocking the door and stepping inside. I didn't invite him in. He followed anyway. What you did tonight was completely out of line, he said, pacing. You crossed a major boundary. I sat on the couch. How so? You went to dinner with my best friend. You went to lunch with your ex and posted about it, I said evenly. Same thing. That's different, he snapped. She's just a friend now. We have history, but it's over. And your best friend is just a friend, I replied. We had dinner. What's the problem? He stopped pacing and stared at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. You know what the problem is. You did this to get back at me. I did this because you said you're secure and don't need to control who I hang out with, I said. I'm following your lead. Don't give me that, he said. This is vindictive. Interesting word choice, I replied. Want to explain how it's vindictive when you literally did the same thing 2 days ago? I told you that was fine, he said. You said you didn't care. And I'm telling you this was fine, I said. I'm secure in our relationship. I don't need to control who you talk to. I used his exact words. I watched his face change as they landed. That's not, he started, then stopped. You're twisting this. Am I asked. Because it looks like a double standard. He tried a different tactic then. Sat down next to me, lowered his voice, softened his tone, like he was reaching for a version of me that didn't exist anymore. Baby, he said, you're right. I overreacted. But can you see how this feels different to me? He's my close friend. It feels like a betrayal. And how did you think I felt, I asked, when you posted those stories with your ex who you dated for 2 years and told the world if it bothered me, that was my problem? He stood back up. The soft approach wasn't working. Fine, he snapped. You want to play games? We're done. Cool, I said. I'm not staying with someone who sets rules for me that don't apply to them. He stared at me, shocked that I hadn't chased him. Then he grabbed the few things he kept at my place and left, slamming the door hard enough that my neighbor texted to ask if everything was okay. I sat there for a long moment after he left. I didn't cry. I didn't feel dramatic heartbreak. What I felt was something quieter and heavier. Relief, because I realized I hadn't lost anything. I had dodged something, and whatever came next was going to prove it. The aftermath was immediate and loud, the kind of chaos that tries to convince you you've done something wrong simply by being relentless. I woke up Sunday morning and turned my phone back on after leaving it off all night. The screen lit up like a warning sign. Notifications stacked on notifications. Messages, tags, screenshots, links. My ex had gone online. 7 Instagram stories in a row. He didn't name me, but he didn't need to. Anyone who knew us knew exactly who he was talking about. The first slide read, "When someone shows you who they really are, believe them." The next, "Boundaries exist for a reason." Then, "If your partner deliberately tries to hurt you, that's not love." By slide 4, He declared he deserved someone who respected his friendships. Slide 5 labeled manipulation as abuse. Slide 6 said, know your worth. The final slide announced, single and healing. The comments were split. His close friends flooded the replies with heart emojis and praise, telling him he deserved better. But there were others, people who weren't invested in protecting his ego. One comment stood out. Didn't you just post with your ex on Thursday? That comment disappeared within minutes. Around 10 that morning, his best friend texted me. What is happening? He called me last night screaming about you taking me to dinner. I told him we literally just ate and talked about work. He accused me of betraying him. I stared at the message for a long second before replying. He showed up at my place, said I crossed a boundary. A boundary he crossed first, his best friend wrote back. I saw the stories with his ex. That caption was wild. He claims it's different. It's not, I typed. Exactly, he replied. Honestly, I think he did the ex thing to make you jealous and got mad when you didn't react. That theory stuck with me. It made everything click. This wasn't about insecurity, it was about control. He wanted a reaction that affirmed his importance. When he didn't get it, he escalated. That afternoon, he called me twice. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail, voice steady but strained. We need to talk about this like adults. You can't just ignore me. I deleted it. On Monday, his mother texted me. I didn't even know she had my number. I heard you and my son broke up. He's very upset. I think you both said things in the heat of the moment. Maybe you should talk it out. With respect, I replied, this is between me and him. We're both adults. She responded a few minutes later. He said you deliberately tried to hurt him. I stared at the message before answering. He went out with his ex and posted about it saying if it bothered me, that was my problem. I had dinner with his friend using the same logic. He decided those things were different. She didn't reply. Tuesday brought a new tactic. He posted a photo of us from a few months earlier, one where we looked genuinely happy. The caption read, sometimes the people who seem perfect for you are the ones who hurt you the most. Trust the process. Cryptic heartbreak content. A classic move. That same afternoon, his best friend texted again. He's telling people you cheated on him with me. I actually laughed out loud. What? Yeah, he said. He's saying we've been secretly seeing each other and dinner was us going public. It's insane. That's not what happened, I replied. I know, he wrote. I've been telling people the truth, but he's already spun this whole narrative. If you need to clear it up publicly, do it, I said. I have screenshots too. Wednesday evening, he showed up at my apartment again. 8 o'clock. I was making dinner when the knock came. I checked the peephole. It was him. I know you're in there, he called through the door. I can hear the TV. I opened the door, but stayed in the doorway. What do you want? I want to fix this, he said. I miss you. I overreacted. You broke up with me, I said. I was hurt, he replied quickly. You hurt me. You hurt me first, I said. And you told me that was my problem. He sighed dramatically. I admitted I was being passive-aggressive. Can't you just forgive me? You apologized just now, I said. That's not how apologies work. Fine, he snapped. I'm sorry I posted the stories. I was immature, happy. No, I replied, because you're only sorry you got called out. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry it didn't work. You're being impossible, he said. I'm being consistent, I replied. You set the standard. I followed it. I started to close the door. He put his hand out to stop it. Please, he said. Can we just start over? Pretend this week didn't happen. No, I said quietly, because this week showed me exactly who you are. I closed the door. He knocked for another minute before leaving. The next day, his best friend sent me a screenshot of a group chat. My ex had written, he's clearly not over his ex. That's why he's punishing me. Classic deflection. His best friend replied, or maybe you created a double standard and he called you on it. My ex's response was immediate. Whose side are you on? The side of not being a hypocrite. He was removed from the group chat. That night, his best friend texted me. I'm officially cut off. He kicked me out of the friend group for defending you. I'm sorry, I replied. Don't be, he said. This just confirmed something I've known for a while. That was the moment I realized my silence was no longer protecting me. It was protecting his version of the story. And that story was getting darker by the day. By Thursday morning, I realized staying quiet wasn't neutrality anymore. It was surrendering the narrative to someone who had already proven he would twist it until it served him. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want drama. But I wasn't willing to let lies settle into permanence either. That morning, one of his friends requested to follow me on Instagram. I accepted out of curiosity. A minute later, a message came through. Hey, I know this is weird, but I wanted to hear your side. He's been talking about you nonstop, and something isn't adding up. I sent the screenshots. All of them. The original Instagram stories with his ex-girlfriend, the caption that started everything, my dinner photo with his best friend using the same energy, his meltdown messages demanding I come home, delete the post, answer immediately. No commentary, no framing, just facts. Her reply came quickly. Wow, yeah, he left out some key details. He's telling everyone you're manipulative and emotionally abusive, but this shows a very different story. Do what you feel is right, I replied. She did. She posted them to her own story with a simple caption. Context matters. Stop believing one-sided stories. That was the moment everything shifted. By Saturday morning, half of his extended friend group had seen the screenshots. Not everyone took my side, but enough people started asking questions that his story began to crack. He went online again, posting another rant about betrayal, about how sharing private conversations without consent shows who people really are. His remaining loyal friends hyped him up, but the comments under his regular posts were brutal. Maybe just admit you were wrong. The double standard is wild. You can dish it, but can't take it. He started deleting comments. Then he made his account private. His best friend texted me that night. He's having a full breakdown. Called me from a different number, begging me to stop spreading lies. They're not lies, I replied. They're screenshots of things he actually did. He hung up on me when I said that. Sunday, his sister called. She asked me to delete the screenshots because they were ruining his life. I told her he was ruining his own life by refusing to take accountability. She called me a bad friend. I reminded her I wasn't his friend anymore. I was someone he lied about. That evening, an unknown number called. I answered against my better judgment. This is his brother, a male voice said. We need to talk about how you've been treating my brother. I'm not contacting him, I replied. He keeps contacting me. He says you manipulated everything to make him look bad. I can send you the screenshots if you want the full story, I offered. I don't need screenshots, he snapped. I need you to leave him alone. He showed up at my apartment twice this week, I said calmly. I'm not the one who won't let go. There was silence. Then the line went dead. Monday brought another message, this time from someone I barely knew, a coworker of his. Hey, I don't know if you remember me, but I work with him. He's been talking about you at work a lot. HR pulled him aside today and told him to keep personal drama out of the office. I stared at the message, stunned. He wasn't just spiraling socially, he was unraveling everywhere. Tuesday, he sent a long email. I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. It started with, I've had time to reflect. Moved into, we both made mistakes. Then, I miss what we had. It ended with, I'm willing to forgive you if you're willing to grow. The audacity took my breath away. I replied with one sentence. No thanks. Enjoy your growth journey solo. His response came minutes later. You're going to regret this. I was giving you a chance. I'll take my chances, I typed back. He blocked me on everything after that, which felt less like punishment and more like relief. That week, his best friend and I grabbed coffee just to decompress from the chaos. He told me things I hadn't known, patterns from previous relationships, similar jealousy, similar tests, similar victim narratives when things didn't go his way. I listened, not with anger, but with clarity. This wasn't new behavior. I was just the first one who had proof. By the 5th week, the noise finally started to fade. Not because everything was resolved, but because the story had run out of oxygen. When lies are exposed and no longer evolving, they collapse inward. That's exactly what happened to him. He went quiet online for a few days, which was unusual enough that mutuals noticed. Then the explanation appeared. He was dating someone new. Photos posted 3 weeks after our breakup. Big smiles, tagged locations, captions overflowing with forced happiness. It had a frantic energy to it, like he was trying to prove something to an audience that was no longer watching closely. The timeline was interesting, close enough to raise questions, but far enough that I didn't care to answer them. His former best friend sent me a screenshot from a group chat I wasn't in. He had written, "See, I upgraded, she was holding me back." The desperation was almost sad, not heartbreaking sad, exposing sad. About 3.5 weeks into his new relationship, the pattern repeated. His new girlfriend commented on an old photo of him at a coffee shop with his ex-girlfriend, one taken long before I ever existed. "Who's this?" she wrote. He replied, "Just an old friend, nothing to worry about." Her response came fast. Cool. Maybe we can all hang out sometime since you're so comfortable with exes. The post disappeared within the hour. A few days later, he posted a long caption about trust issues in relationships and how some people are just naturally insecure and you can't help someone who refuses to work on themselves. His new girlfriend stopped appearing in his posts after that. Meanwhile, my life was quietly getting better. Work was steady. I got a small raise, nothing dramatic, but enough to feel seen. My social circle expanded in unexpected ways. People I barely knew before reached out, either because they'd seen the screenshots or because they'd always felt uneasy around him and finally understood why. Several admitted they'd tolerated his behavior because he was loud and central and exhausting to challenge. Without him controlling the narrative, the group dynamics shifted. His former best friend became one of my closest friends. We talked a few times a week, completely platonic, honest, easy. He introduced me to people in his circle who had nothing to do with my past relationship, and for the first time in months, conversations didn't feel like landmines. He told me something that stuck. He can't comprehend that we're just friends. In his mind, everything is strategy. Everything is retaliation. He thinks you and I got together because that's what he would have done. That sentence explained everything. A week later, I ran into him unexpectedly at a restaurant. I was there with coworkers for a team dinner. He was there with two friends. Our eyes met across the room. His expression flickered, then he looked away and whispered something to his table. They stood up and moved to a different section. One of my coworkers noticed. Was that your ex? Yeah, I said. He just moved tables, she laughed. That's the most dramatic thing I've seen all week. I smiled, but inside I felt something close to peace. The real fallout wasn't loud. It wasn't cinematic. It was social gravity doing its work. His friend group fractured. The people who valued honesty distanced themselves. He was left with a handful of ride-or-die supporters who enabled everything and questioned nothing. Invitations stopped coming. Group plans happened without him. His former best friend, who had once anchored that whole circle, started hosting gatherings he wasn't invited to. At work, the consequences caught up too. After being warned to keep personal drama out of the office more than once, he was moved to a different team. Not fired, just quietly sidelined. Reputation damage doesn't always explode. Sometimes it erodes. As for me, I started dating again, slowly, intentionally. I met a man at a friend's birthday party. He worked as a veterinary technician, calm, grounded. He listened more than he talked. I told him the full story early on, showed him the screenshots. I didn't want mystery or misunderstanding. He read them carefully and said, "That's manipulative behavior. I'm glad you got out." No defensiveness, no minimizing, no power games. It was refreshing in a way I hadn't realized I needed. The last update I got about my ex came through the same social grapevine that had once amplified his version of events. His new relationship imploded publicly after he accused his girlfriend of being insecure for questioning his closeness with exes. She blocked him. He posted another vague rant, then silence. His accounts have been quiet for over a week now. No stories, no captions, no speeches about healing. Either he finally learned something, or he's regrouping for another round of drama. Either way, it's no longer my concern. What I walked away with wasn't revenge, it wasn't validation, it was clarity. He wanted freedom without accountability, boundaries that only applied to me, rules he could bend but never follow. When I matched his energy, he called it betrayal. When I held up a mirror, he shattered it. The screenshots weren't about hurting him. They were about truth. He was telling people I was manipulative and abusive. Proof mattered. And once the truth was visible, I didn't have to do anything else. Consequences handled the rest. I won't pretend it didn't hurt. It did. Realizing someone you cared about operates on double standards isn't painless, but I'm grateful it happened when it did. A year and a half in, not 3 years, not 5. Not after moving in. He showed me exactly who he was. And I showed myself something too. That I don't have to accept unfair treatment to keep the peace. That standing up for myself isn't cruelty. That matching energy isn't petty. It's educational. He'll probably never admit he was wrong. People like that rarely do. They'll always find a way to be the victim in their own story. But I'm not part of that story anymore. I'm just Sharon. Someone who noticed a double standard, documented the truth when lies started spreading, and walked away when respect disappeared. Sometimes that's enough. Actually, it's everything.